Okay, so most of this show is going to be what Mike was talking about last night with Begley. So that's what did I do that for? Okay, see those two dots and the sun destroyer right there. Okay, so this destroyer is spiritual. It's a spiritual like planet. It's an it's not a planet. God uses it to deliver us, right? And so that's what's coming soon. We're getting delivered soon. So this is Mike, and finally, some people are saying it's the destroyer, not Wormwood, uh, not near Bureau, not Planet X. No such thing as those things. Those are man-given names. So when people give those names, I leave their room because that's false teaching. There's nothing such the name as that. They're going by what men says, and I don't go by what man says. Anyways, I'm not here to put anyone out and down. I'm here to teach what the Lord gave me, and that's the destroyer. I have many pictures of it, and now the truth is starting to come out when I've been trying to tell people for 6 years. And at first, I didn't know what it was, okay? And then God gave me dreams, and I started seeing the iron furnace in the Bible and the furnace of iron and the destroyer. And then I understood. And so, wow, this is a wicked one with what Mike was saying. Let's get listening to him now.
Tonight, trying to keep up with all of the information that's flowing.
It's a busy night, isn't it?
Very busy night, and you never know what's going to happen next. Seems like doomsday may have arrived, or at least it's close.
Well, it's alliances. They are together. They are moving, it seems.
So, the armies of the Antichrist, we're going to talk about that in a little bit here, because I think some of the stuff that's happening, like you said, they're moving. Can you give us any idea? Let's talk about these volcanoes first, Mike. Kilauea, Hawaii, erupts again. Ring of Fire seems like is on fire. You've got that one happening. You've got the Canary Islands still going, very bad. We're hearing about others, of course, as you've mentioned, in Italy. And then there's this super volcano that has been identified between Madagascar and East Africa. Do you have any information on this super volcano or this underwater volcano, the largest they've ever identified? You got any info on this?
Well, they had I know that the May of 2015, they spotted, or they had some rumbles from this thing. 2018, it actually began to ripple throughout the earth, and it was the way they put it. I'm not sure what you guys are reading in public news, but it was one of the largest eruptions that took place. When it actually went off in May, the rumbles from this thing, it just rippled out, and it kept rippling out. But what they noticed was the deepness of this thing, and it was since then the magma has pushed up a clear, brand new volcano down there, where they actually mapped out next to the bigger trench. Now, I'm not sure if they're showing everybody the crack in the Atlantic, but it is certainly is not helping matters. And what actually has happened is these conduits of magma are channeling off. In 2018, they finally mapped one of the conduits, resulted in that volcano that I believe you're making reference to. But there are 7 more underneath the ocean that are they're just enormous. This is going to continue to happen, Pascal, until the ocean floor starts to heat up beyond temperatures that we are used to, or any life period is used to. So we have a continuation effect that has been going for a few years now of the ocean heating up from the bottom, right? Because we have hot vents down there, right? 800-degree temperatures down there near that water. But imagine an area the size of Brazil, right, in the ocean.
What?
800 degrees, and then that would essentially change currents, right? The currents would change as they are changing right now. That would change sea life. Numbers would decline. Certain bacteria would increase. It would just throw everything off balance. And of course, if the ocean is out of balance, then so are the mammals. They too are out of balance because the birds are highly affected by this. And of course, that affects mammals on land. So yeah, this is that's the beginning of a chain reaction, which will go all throughout the sphere of life forms around the Earth.
So, Mike, this is a great. Of course, I've been holding this up.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you, I was on yesterday and looking around in the Facebook, and it showed many birds missing. Okay, uh, many species are missing, right? So that confirms that it's already happening.
This is the volcano you're referring to. It's at the bottom of the ocean. It's between Madagascar and East Africa, the coast of Africa. I think it's East Africa. I could be wrong on that, but between Madagascar and Africa. Okay. And they're saying that you're saying there's a massive crack also. Are you saying this is part of that crack?
Yes.
And how big is the crack in the Atlantic Ocean?
This crack spans the Atlantic Ocean and goes underneath the ground. So it's in the ocean from the East Coast, from our East Coast, probably go down to in between Cuba and Florida, and you'll see the beginning of that crack. Then it goes northward and back down to Africa itself, near the Gulf of that will be Guyana, probably, and then it goes through the African continent, which is where there's a brand new landmass that is about to be formed from Africa as it breaks in half, literally breaks in half, straight through to Madagascar. In fact, volcanism is following this line of cracks. These crack lines that are in the earth, and they're becoming wider and wider. This is the crack, by the way, that spews up nickel. So it's really deep. We're talking about a super deep crack, which it's spreading. Every week, this thing widens.
So it's like the planet's breaking apart. I mean,
a lot of people have called this the beginning of the end.
This is huge. This is huge. So maybe when we say has doomsday arrived, we don't mean today, but we mean that the planet, according to 2 Peter 3, will melt with a fervent heat. And is that because it melts from the inside out? Is that, you think, Mike?
Yeah, both from the inside out, and see, any external force, by the way, is going to just increase this volcanism that we're having. This increased volcanism is just not happening out of the blue. We've got some enormous forces playing upon the Earth, playing upon Mars, playing upon all the inner planets and external planets, for that matter. So, as this continues to go on, it's going to increase. By the way, it's exponential, meaning we could be affected one way 1 week. We'll have twice the effect, a week later, so on and so forth, and it just continues to happen. Earth essentially is an overcharged battery, right? It's about to hit an ignition point, and once that happens, you're looking at multiple volcanoes going off, probably near the same moments. I can tell you this. I can say this with the greatest of confidence. All of us are going to deal with an atmosphere full of black smoke and cinders.
What? In other words, I've heard you talk about get ready for everyone's going to need to wear a mask, and not talking about a gas mask from the ash and the plume and the fumes and the toxic gas. Is that what you're referring to?
You bet, and it's coming, and nothing is stopping. Past fall, since we last talked, there are about 5 volcanoes that increased in their magnitude of emissions, going from Chile all the way up to Mexico, just in that small quadrant. There are some other ones that have increased also, but in particular, many of these volcanoes that are lined up near Chile and Peru and Ecuador, going up to Mexico, all those places going up through California all the way to Alaska, that portion of the Ring of Fire has increased tremendously since we last spoke. And of course, the coast plate is now rumbling. It's got a steady vibration underneath the ocean floor. And you know what that means for California.
Yeah, that doesn't mean very good things. And you've been saying...
No, that's not good news.
Because you keep, I've heard you talk about this many times. We keep watching the earthquakes in Chile and Peru and right along that and Mexico and on up into... A lot of quakes. Seems like it's really getting more and more volatile in Southern California. You're saying this is all tied together in that long fault line.
Yeah, it is, which is why you see Alaska and the Sandwich Islands. Activity in between those 2 points, essentially, because there are fault lines, yes, but how the fault lines are constructed is what they don't normally share. There are relationships, for example, between the coast plate and the Arabian plate. Now, nobody would ever really think of those two being in relationship, but they are. The Australian plate, for example, and the Antarctic plate are tied.
Mexico.
Any action in any of these places is going to cause a reaction in another place, because when you have pressure on one side, it must be alleviated if the forces are too great. In other words, if the land masses cannot go up, they're going to push to the left, right, north, or south. So some kind of way that pressure has to be alleviated. If magma builds up in a deep part of the earth, say for example in the northern hemisphere, then if there's a weak part of the earth in the southern hemisphere, you're going to have an eruption. Now all of these are different relationships that are being studied, being mapped, so that people can have a better warning system of what will really take place. Because we're past the point of the small happenings where an isolated volcano goes off and nothing follows. We're past that point. I don't know if anybody has actually checked the volcano map, but there are so many active volcanoes on the earth right now. It's incredible. Most scientists in the early 2000s specifically stated if we had this many volcanoes going off at one time, that we would probably not make it in within a 5-year period, going forward. Well, guess what? We have 3 times the amount of volcanoes going off right now than these guys predicted back then. So we're in, as I said before.
Use the word deeper dodo, less time than 5 years left. He said. I said 1 or 2. That's all we have, Ben.
3 times.
Really understand it.
3 times more than what they warned us about, that if we ever get to this certain point of number of volcanoes active that are spewing and flowing and erupting, that we could be in real trouble 5 years within that. And you're saying we got 3
That's
times
right.
more of that right now?
That's right. That's right. So things are worse than what people think. And it's one of the great jobs, or I'm not going to say great jobs, I'll say very labor-intensive jobs. That is a real job, is to make everything look normal, and they're doing that so well. In the 90s, when they locked down the news channels, right? When the news channels were actually locked down, and the FCC had certain rules, and they had communications policy and everything else. And to make that big money, you have to adhere to these rules. Well, they locked it down back then. And so they have a specific job and a duty and a function to keep everything normalized within a degree. So they're doing a great job, because people really believe that our greatest problems are political. Well, I hate to tell them, they're looking at Earth essentially burn up piece by piece. And we have war coming, yes, but we also have celestial issues that are about to take place in conjunction with the volcanoes. So that's going to make it twice as bad.
Let's talk about this. We'll talk about those celestial issues in a moment. So La Palma, The Canary Islands, the volcanic eruption update for today. Increased volcanic activity with more ash and gas. I'm showing some pictures here of of somewhere areas where the lava has reached the ocean. So of course, hydrochloric acid, very dangerous, but and it's also causing the air to be toxic. Even if you're not, I mean, is this the smoke and everything coming from a volcano? There's a lot of different gases that actually come from volcanoes. Is that right?
Yeah. And you know what, Pascal? One volcanic eruption puts out more carbon emissions than human beings do with all their equipment. One volcano in a week puts out more carbon emissions than we put out in what, 200 years or something like that? So just think about that. That means if you took what they said about carbon emissions, right?
Yeah.
If you really took that to heart and began to do the mathematics behind it, you would know that within another 4 months, we're going to have a heavier atmosphere. Within 4 months, it's going to be much heavier than what it is right now. And what that means is the storms are going to be highly condensed, right? That also means the wind speeds are about to increase because the lower the atmosphere, the higher the wind speeds, right? It also means that the oceans are going to become, well, let's just say unhinged. One effect of a lower atmosphere are outlandish and outrageous waves. You're looking in the wintertime at a type hurricane in the wintertime, right? You're looking at typhoons near America and hurricanes near Japan. You're looking at a reversal of a few systems, but with much greater intensity. So the weather is going to be man's worst enemy. They're going to try. They're doing it now. They're trying right now to mitigate what's about to happen with the high winds. They know the high winds are coming. They've got the best scientists on the job to see what they can do to the atmosphere to slow the wind speeds down. They're not going to be successful. Hopefully, they won't tamper with it because they can make it much worse in certain areas. But they're going to do everything they can to try and mitigate the weather phenomenon that's coming. Not to mention, with more particulates in the atmosphere, you have a transfer of electrons that takes place. Like you're talking about lightning, right? Just lightning all over the skies for no reason, right?
Right.
So that means on a clear day, there's going to be more death from lightning. I don't know if anybody has checked the stats yet, but this year more people have died from lightning than ever in history. Ever in recorded history, more people have died from lightning. And the numbers are just escalating. Pretty soon, we're going to have the same people that die or that are hit by drunk drivers. It's those who are hit by lightning, that's going to be an equivalent number.
What?
So you're looking at something pretty bad here.
I mean, so you're saying that the lightning strikes you, because the old saying is, you got a better chance of being hit by lightning than this. You're saying, no. It's going to get so bad that there's an equal chance of getting hit by a drunk driver than getting hit, and getting hit by lightning. It'll be pretty well about the same.
Fastball, that means almost continuous strikes. You got to remember, as these volcanoes going off, they're spewing particulates in the upper atmosphere. In the atmosphere, they get caught in the jet stream. They become a part of our weather systems. But they also increase static electricity. They also increase the transfer of electrons from one concentrated place to another. There are 3 places on Earth where there's continual lightning. Those areas are beginning to change. If for example, if one of those areas were over the U.S. or over Europe, then we'd have tens of thousands of people being struck by lightning every single day. That would be outrageous. And although it seems like something out of sci-fi, well, we're just at that time where Earth changes. It's going to alter. Weather's going to alter in the worst way. This winter, a lot of climatologists are beginning to study some of the models that are coming out from DARPA, from other agencies, because they know what they're about to face. They're going to have a whole new vocabulary. If we make it through this winter, they're going to have a whole new vocabulary coming this winter. They've got the worst job to do is to explain away some of the wild events people will see. Everybody's heard of a dust devil, right?
Yes, I've seen them. I've seen those. Yeah.
I don't think people are aware of this, but this year hundreds died from dust devils. Children have been swooped up from dust devils.
What?
Right? These are just dust devils. And so there have been injuries, massive injuries from dust devils, because now dust devils are not so docile like they used to be. Also because of these volcanoes, it's a lot of heat coming off these volcanoes causing vortices to form where they shouldn't. So we have weather really gone wild, for lack of better terms. And, that's just the beginning, because we're dealing with more compression on our atmosphere. And that's just the atmospheric problems. We still haven't dealt with the ocean yet and the water event that will surely come.
Folks, Mike around the world's with us tonight. Has doomsday arrived? And what I mean by that, the realization that, and it's not doomsday for Christians, but it is a darkness, a thick darkness, a gloominess. I mean, I can tell you that the things that the scripture says is coming of the day of the Lord. Well, you start to wonder, one day with the Lord's 1,000 years, 1,000 years a day. You start asking yourself a question: have we entered into that doomsday effect that the world? Would you say it, Mike?
Pastor, I tell you what, we're certainly we're in a process. I think the one scripture I have across my office walls, the Lord said, "There's no good thing in the day of the Lord. There's nothing good in the day of the Lord."
It does say that.
He says only a fool would ask for the day of the Lord.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah.
And then it rains on the just as well as the unjust. So all of us, you know what that means? Though it means that here's what I think it means. I think all of us are prone to it, but the redeemed will be shielded from it.
Yes.
That's what I believe.
Yes.
All of us are prone to it, which means these are certainly not the days to play around with your salvation. I guess that's one of my major things there. People toy around with salvation because all too often, sometimes we get so involved in ourselves, we forget a balance sometimes. But the Lord is just to give us reminders, and for the most part, we've seen reminders. We haven't seen Sirius yet, right? But we're about to.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine these conditions? About possibly 120% more than what we have with disrupted or intermittent communication. I believe we'll have continuous communication. I believe that. But it's going to be intermittent. Now, you throw in a few meteor showers that no one has experienced. In modern times, no one has experienced that, where cities are truly on fire. Right?
Yep.
That's going to be the difference. Oh, and not to mention the sinkhole issue. I know I've been saying this too, but we're going to see city-sized sinkholes. And some clever producers got a hold of this. I believe they did, Pascal, a long time ago from the show.
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to psychologically move people away from this idea that it could happen. But too bad. California is already beginning. California is already seeing a type of sinkhole form. A city-sized sinkhole is forming there. Several other states are now starting to move around. I hope everybody can see this. I said it on Pascal said this a couple days ago. I'm gonna say it again. The earthquakes in America form a perfect line, a predictive line, right? And I hope that people can see this and understand that, because it's not finished yet. I'll just say that it's not finished. Now, when you see on the USGS points that plot a perfect line or a perfect arc, because they like to alter things every once in a while, a perfect arc, it still means these are predefined positions, right? Those are predefined. They're not random. And when they go back the opposite direction, on the same track, we have a problem. We have another problem, right? So we're just beginning to see some things here. Not only the USA, you're also looking at Europe big time, because they have some unexposed things that are happening there. And my goodness, just
sounds to
a
me,
lot is going to come forward.
Sounds like the beginning of sorrows. I mean, and so let's talk about the celestial
beginning of sorrows. That's over. Wrong teaching.
The earthquakes, and all the hurricanes and tsunamis and typhoons and cyclones, and the straight line winds have gotten worse, and the climate chaos that's happening, and all these rain bombs. I mean, we could go on and on. And matter of fact, just one last thing to say about the volcano in the Canary Islands. Let me just read one comment just made today that the volcano at the La Palma Canary Islands has increased its eruptive power. It's emitting a greater amount of ash when its lava flow reached the sea on Tuesday night. So it's even worse than it was Tuesday night. Explosions are now being registered in the north slope of the main cinder cone. This new situation could cause the cone to collapse in a very short time. So it's coming apart, isn't it? It's crumbling and coming apart at the very top of this thing.
It will. It's being fed. Of course, if it does, it's going to cause. It's going to shift a lot of water. It will.
And that could cause that. Could it cause that?
But I'll tell you something.
Okay.
If it continues to increase, it's being fed. And if it's being fed, then Mexico better watch out. They really better watch out. They have about 28 volcanoes that are not showing that have not blown up yet. And I'm telling you right now that there's some heat plumes detected underneath Mexico that would blow your mind. And there they are. If these volcanoes continue to receive this activity, they're going. I give Mexico maybe 2 weeks. They're going to have an eruption. They're going to have to deal with.
What?
And
you're giving it maybe two weeks.
I give it a couple weeks. They're going to have to deal with an eruption. These heat plumes they can see those from space, by the way. They can see what's about to go and what's not about to go based on those heat plumes.
With some kind of ultraviolet or some kind of infrared.
It's some simple analysis, really. They have a network of satellites that monitor the surface of the Earth. They just sent another one up that looks at a different spectrum, but they can see the heat changes on the surface of the Earth. They can also look inside the Earth. They can look right through the crust and go down at least, I'd say about 3-4 miles. Audibly, they can go down hundreds of miles in the Earth and see perfectly. So, it's just a lot of things people don't know. They just don't know. But people can see things very well in the Earth, and I'm telling you now, the picture, this nonchalant picture they're maintaining on the surface, like everything is okay, these are normal conditions. No, they're not. They're not normal, and they're about to build up far beyond the point where we're at now. We're a boiling pot, and it's not even boiling yet.
8,800 of you. I want to welcome you tonight. Mike from the World's with us. We're live on the air, and let me just say, Mike, as you talk about the Canary Islands and the lightning, the spectacular danger now with the thunder, lightning, and of course we're hearing that the darkness, the danger of the ash and the toxic carbon.
It's going to spread.
It's going to spread. It's going to become more and more dangerous for the lungs of people.
It's going to spread.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we know that this happened in Hawaii. So this is right in the middle of this whole ring of fire. Is this just par for the course, or is there anything here we should be concerned about in Hawaii? Kilauea.
Well, you've been having a lot of earthquakes in Alaska in conjunction with the Sandwich Islands. Remember that teeter-totter type eruption thing it was giving, right?
Yes.
So, Alaska would erupt, Sandwich Islands would erupt, Alaska would erupt, so on and so forth. Now, that shows a relationship, right, in pressures. Clearly a relationship in pressures. Both areas have built up magma underneath them. Alaska's heated up so much, it's severely hot to where it's exposed some black projects up there already, right? In some places where it's not supposed to be hot, you have a melt-away happening, and they're going to be forced to get out of they're going to bring some special teams outside of a base there because the ice is not covering it up. That will expose enough within itself. In Alaska, if they receive more quakes, that means the magma is trying to find a way out, and it will. It will eventually. They have volcanic activity. That's not really new. That's why the earthquakes are, they really give an insight into some of the changes that are taking place. And if you start to look at Alaska and the places that have heated up, it's very unusual. It's never happened before. Never happened before. So, in fact, the military counted on parts of Alaska being frozen for a long time. They're not frozen, Pastor Paul. They're thawing out. Everything is thawing out.
Is it because the magma is rising or eating away the core? Is the core expanding, Mike?
Yeah. The Earth constantly takes in radiation on a continuous basis, right?
Yeah, that's
the
externally.
Solar winds of the sun are absorbed by the Earth.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The solar winds have increased as far as their density. They have increased. That means you can have slow solar winds, but the greater density means we're taking on twice as much as what we usually did. Now, one of the telltale signs is when the aurora stretches all the way down to America. When they see the aurora in Mexico, all right, when they really see it clearly in Nebraska, that's going to be a danger sign.
Are you serious?
People will say it's beautiful every evening. It's going to be a danger sign. When the skies are colorful, that's a danger sign. And that will no doubt take place because those auroras, right, are the result of upper atmosphere high-speed collisions. That's what they are. High-speed particles are coming in from space, hitting some of the particles that travel the magnetic field lines of the Earth. And when they explode, they cause colors. If it hits nitrogen, it's one color. If it hits oxygen, it's another color. If it hits, hydrogen, another color, so on and so forth. So these colorful skies seen over America, that's not going to be a good sign. That means the entire magnetosphere is overloaded, is transferring too much radiation in certain areas, and that's just not a good sign.
All right, Mike, let's talk about a couple other things. Let's talk about that celestial. Before we go to the celestial threat to the Earth, I want to ask you a couple questions. About 17,000 Haitians or so made it in the United States. We saw the situation under the bridge, and it was very concerning. We understand now there's another 12,000 Haitians that are working their way up through Guatemala. They're getting ready to come into Mexico. I'm hearing as many as 60,000. That's a rumor. I don't have that confirmed. Could be also coming behind them. Apparently, somebody's bringing them on boats to Panama. That's a lot of money to move that many people. Who's doing it? Who's paying for that? Who's doing that?
Pastor Paul, I'll check that situation out. I want to say this. Here's what's so bad about this entire situation.
Okay.
You have folks over there who you just can't jump into another country and be accepted, right?
No.
And I'm not a political guy. I don't take sides.
No.
But when you do not tell folks, listen, you just can't come to America, you're hurting the families coming over here. Here's what happens. These folks are spending all of their money to get a boat ride and transportation over here. There are always people willing to take that money and get them as far as they can. A lot of them, they only have $800 to their name with children, right? So they take all that money, get a boat ride, because no one in this administration has told them, don't come over here, right? So they all get hopeful, right? This is the bad part. They get hopeful, and Christians are well aware of this situation because every single believer has gone through this. They get hopeful and they say, yes, this is it. We can finally, do something. They get over here, they get stopped, they wait, they become part of some political game, and the families are most often destroyed because they're fractured. Right? They get split up, all sorts of things. They get in trouble in Mexico. These cartels try to get to them, whatever the case is. But they get over here and their hopes are broken, right? I know for a fact that some of the ones that made it into the country and they shouldn't have are saying, this is not the way I wanted to come in here, right? This is not what I thought would happen. And they're separated from children and everything else. For the most part, most of these guys are sent back the other direction. For example, the day before they went missing, nine aircraft left the U.S. But see, that still cost us money. that costs money that we could be giving to the people that live over here. And a responsible government needs to say the borders are shut. The only way in here, right, is through proper channels. So you don't give a person false hope. The problem I have with it is they give people false hope.
Yes.
And when you tell somebody, hey, this may work out for you, and they get all excited, get over here, and it does not. You're hurting people.
No, I know it.
You're really hurting people.
Terrible.
And that's just not humane. That's not humane at all. So, that's my issue with that.
It's mine also, and I don't know why we would encourage that. I feel I have more compassion for these people because I know they're desperate and they're doing anything they can to make life better, to raise a family. You got to get out of, to run from a country and face these incredible odds of danger. It must be horrible where you're leaving. So I'm with you, Mike, on this 1,000%. It's awful. Let me ask you this question. This week, nurses were fired in New York. I don't want to talk about the V word. We're not even allowed to talk about it. So let's just keep it in the perspective of what's going on here. Nurses are being fired. Police are being defunded and let go. First responders are being fired. These are the people that if we ever have a catastrophe here, we need them like never before. And while that's happening, Mike, we got 500,000 containers of food and products setting off the coast of Los Angeles on cargo ships that can't be unloaded while we're having food shortages. Supply chains are falling apart. Farmers are not planting as many crops because they can't. There's nowhere to go with them because there's not enough food processing plants because those closed due to the mandates. Mike, it feels like that we're in the most vulnerable position we've been as a nation. Can you reflect? Is there a plan going on here, or what's happening?
You're looking at, it's the same atmosphere within small municipals, your local towns, cities, what have you. People are so passionate. They're still so polarized. You have these folks. Now, I'm going to say it in a different way. You have these folks that want to mandate something, right?
Yeah.
They want to mandate something. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. They want to mandate because they want to be right. And because they listen, if they get their mandate over, they win, right? Now, you have the other side, which is rightfully saying you can't mandate anything like that. No matter what the outcome is, you can't mandate that. Here's why that's so bad. In this country, Pastor Paul, there have been fights and scrimmages and things that more fights, but look at the outcome. We enjoy the outcome, which means when we have problems like this, right?
Yep.
In today's modern world, we don't fight them out on the backs of citizens, right? You fight this stuff out for the benefit of everybody, which means one of the mistakes they have made was when two parents are in a home, you don't argue in front of your child.
No.
The child didn't ask to be here, so you go somewhere else and you have that conversation so the child can still be a child. What they've done in government is they've opened up to the world arguments that the world, they don't want to hear that stuff because if they hear it, they're going to have to deal with it. And if they have to deal with it, they're going to end up taking control of it, picking a side. It's just going to cause more division. They know exactly what they were doing. And so what they're doing is trying to mandate. The problem with these mandates is if they get the mandate, they push this stuff through,
yep,
they win. They win. That's it. It's not about, listen, when you have something like this happening, it's not about saving lives. It's about being right. They want to be right, right?
Yep.
So that's a no-go, though. So you have a problem there. The other portion of that is because they want to be right. They're willing to sacrifice other things so they can be right. Whatever makes it harder on the other side, they're willing to do. And these little battles these internal battles have turned, and we're the victims,
yep,
right? We're going to pay the price. That food that's setting off the coast, it's already bad. Listen, they had to slow down well before they ever got here, right?
Yep.
Because there was a dispute whether or not to let them in a specific zone. They already stopped once, and they had to come in. So that whatever's on those containers is probably not
edible.
That stuff.
It won't be
edible because it's already too big. You can't take a cargo ship full of perishables and slow down halfway through the trip and then go full steam again, then slow down again because somebody's having an argument. So the problem here, these internal fights have happened, which means they're so divisive, so angry, and so taken over. They don't care the price you pay. And what they normally do, if everybody should take note, that they normally will have these little skirmishes, right? And then what we consume in our lives degrade throughout the process. It degrades. If we get too involved in their junk, our lives degrade all the way. There's no solution out of it. And then we end up with whoever the last person is left, they push things through anyway. I can say this, and this is why I continue to say, Pastor Paul, an element will rise and push all of that stuff out. And it won't come. It's not coming from some elected source. It's coming directly from the people. And it's that's an issue for them. Nevertheless, it's happening every single day.
Amen.
When you have 2 million military individuals, career officers, career enlisted, high enlisted individuals, when you have those individuals and they tender the resignation, something is wrong. And we're not talking about individuals who are divided by politics. We're talking about people who care about this country. Something is wrong. And so, they're facing a lot of that. But Pastor Paul, I can also tell you this, that there are people who sit around tables and they say, well, how are we going to get rid of people? Right? How are we going to make it so everybody can eat, so everybody can do this and everybody can do that? And to be honest with you, and it shouldn't be a secret now, but there's a mandate every single term to keep the population to a specific minimum, whether by abortion, whether by certain diseases not being treated, whatever the case is, right? But people recognize this, like take, for example, high blood pressure, sugar diabetes. Why is it so prominent in America, but only in specific places? Why? I'll tell you why. That's population control, period. That's been going on since, that's been going on for a long time, since they, kind of kicked Kennedy out. And that's the exact stuff Kennedy was going to expose. Those type things had nothing to do with what most people think, but he was going to tell the people, you have to take your country back. And then, of course, he never got to get that message out, did he?
No.
But ever since that time, these diseases have been coming up, and it shouldn't be a mystery because they got they were testing things on certain people back during that same time through mosquitoes, and people were dying. Some of the diseases that people are dealing with now, they began back then. These are created diseases, not natural diseases, and people are dealing with it right now. They just don't know it was a disease created in a laboratory. They don't know that. So just like today, we're fighting a disease today, which certainly can be fought, but you can't force people through this militant type of remedy, right? That because they're forgetting about the natural course of the body. Your body knows how to fight everything out there. Your body does. It knows how to fight everything out there. And the truth be told, anyway, you're going to have some people that will comply and some people who won't.
Right.
If those who will comply went ahead and complied, right, then guess what would happen? The disease would change. It would change in a way where it would weaken itself, likely go dormant. Nobody would have to deal with it anyway.
So, sorry guys, but this picture shows it's not fake. Look at those lines coming from the sun going right over top of it. You see? Going right over top of it, man. Just behind those. Or with them. Proving it's not fake.
I have another little thing here.
What about now? How do we sound now?
You're coming up
Still
now.
low?
No, you're coming up now.
It's okay.
Okay.
Maybe it was a conversation.
Well, you never know. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about now the threat from the sky that you're talking about. The threat from the sky.
Oh boy.
So, okay, I think you've done a great job describing the the magma, the volcanoes, the effect we're having the planet. But now let's talk about the effects coming from exterior and inbound. Where are we today?
Well, Pascal, all of us, we understand what they call global warming, right? The difference is all planets are going through it. All of them are. So we certainly have external effects on the entire solar system. Everything is heating up. We also have these these gigantic. Here's a term that you're going to hear more and more. You guys ready for this? Super asteroids. You're going to hear that word, super asteroids, and super comets. You're going to hear those words. And what that means is people are now conveying to other folks, hey, we discovered something back in 2009 or 2010 that we could potentially have to deal with that has altered its orbit, right? Now, as of yet, we've been getting objects from a very specific part of the sky. Most of the big ones come from that direction anyway. We've not had one that just cracked right through the Kuiper Belt, and came and got us yet. We haven't had that, but we're about to have those. And it only takes one to dislodge
the destroyer right there, and it's manifesting Shiva.
solar system. We're going to have to deal with that. The other problem is that we can only see a specific part of space at any given time. The problem now is the activity level out there in space is so high. It's just not enough, which is why you have every single country scrambling to find the best solution. Right? They know they're going to listen. They know they're going to have to deal with it. They're not holding back. They know.
Okay, when you say that, are you when they have to
tell them?
When you say they have to,
like the movies.
Okay,
right?
but when you say they have to deal with it, was part of their plan the underground cities? The underground, was that the first attempt to how to deal with it, and then have they evolved into something else?
Well, the underground base issue, that came from what was already here. What they did in Germany got the idea, right? Germany got the idea from what was already in Germany. They found 2 underground cities in Germany. They inspected those places, which led them to India. In India, they found several more. Right, they went very deep. They dug up a lot of things in the sands of everywhere. Right, they have found. The Germans found a lot. This was before 1930. Okay. They found quite a bit. So Germany became the experts on building underground facilities. Well, after World War II, we gave amnesty.
Yeah, and I've switched that picture over so much it's starting to get blurry. Okay, so I'm losing it. So I gotta quit taking it from my iPad to my phone, to my phone to my iPad to send it to other people. It gets weaker. Eh?
In the Book of Noah, right? They do. They believe in the Book of Noah. I know people aren't familiar with that. The King James Version is enough. But it's the same story. The flood came. So they knew about that, and they said, okay, that was enough to protect him. They also know about the iridium layer. They also know about the timing of the iridium layer not being what's in your textbooks. So they know that something hit the earth and people sought protection. They know the Mayan story. They know all the Native American stories because all of the Native Americans corroborated their story with all the first settlers that came over here. So that was common. They went underground and stayed there for many years with the ant people and popped back up after all this stuff was done. So that's a common story with all the Native Americans. But they found the places, Pastor Paul. They found the places. So
who's the ant people? Wait a minute. You can't just throw that out there. Who's the ant people crawling around? Who are they?
Well, that was a story of some things that were already down there. They called them the ant people. They depicted these ant people.
So do you notice how those sun things are going over top of it? Proving it's real. The sun stripes, or the equator-like things coming off the sun, the rays, goes right over top. It's behind it with the sun. That proves that picture is real, man.
Here's a short story from the way I understand it. A long time ago, in the time of the Nephilim, right?
Okay.
There was an assault from the heavens upon the Nephilim, which destroyed their cities directly from God. In order to escape that, some of the smaller Nephilim went down underneath the ground and established cities. And there's of which 4 kings are still here on this earth right now from a long time ago. I know it sounds like science fiction. I'm just throwing that out there. One is in South America right now, and I think once or twice a year, they can approach this thing, which is sleeping, and they can ask it questions, and it will give an answer. I think South America has one, North America, we have one, Europe has one. In the Middle East, there's one in the Middle East, 2 in the Middle East. One is in Iran, sleeping. The other one's in, I think, Turkey. If I'm not mistaken, I think Turkey. Anyway, so these folks inhabited these underground dwellings.
Wow, eh? Ancient people still live here, man.
Exact structure, the same. And in modern times, we would call them demons, right?
Right.
Because they still take children. Right, you wouldn't realize how many children are found in the middle of the desert, which are around the ages of 10 years old, but they have like a 7-year-old mind or something. They don't know where they came from, what their name is. They don't know anything. They tell you the same story, no matter where they're found in the world. They say the exact same story. Now, I know that sounds strange, but you guys will probably hear this in the future, in the near future. So it won't be new to you. Anyway, so they went down there. They stayed there. Now, during these strikes of comets and everything else, where everything was burning up top, they were protected deep within the layers of the earth. Okay. And everybody knows that the temperature, when you go down in the earth, the temperature is pretty steady no matter how hot it is above the earth.
Yeah, about 50.
So they had some sustained places down there.
54 degrees or something.
Built upon that same mindset that, it's more stability down there.
Okay.
And if we had a meteor impact, now, ironically, underground bases do not work against floods.
No.
So they're not expecting a flood. Underground bases, they work against meteor strikes and things like that. Fires, massive fires. That's why they built them, to avoid, predominantly avoid meteor strikes.
Okay, so now your point,
strikes.
Your point is then, they know floods won't work, but they're not anticipating a flood because they believe the Bible, okay? So, but they are anticipating deep impact.
So even the evil believe in the Bible, and Satan does, and all that else, and these people on this earth, they believe in monkeys. Okay, I've seen that on Facebook. Man read the Bible. There's no such thing as God. You're God in space.
Concept, and I say we, I'm not meaning just America, but major countries of the world.
Yeah.
But because we found out that past civilizations had already moved into this direction.
That's right.
And is it because Planet X, is that anywhere in the equation here, or is it
the destroyer?
The destroyer.
The destroyer, which, by the way, is very odd. And this is one of the. A lot of people out there, they know this story from Zechariah Ascension.
Yes.
Pastor Paul, but do you know the destroyer is documented as being something that's not like any other star you would ever see. Also, when these guys, some of the old remnants of the folks who encountered the destroyer, all of a sudden they stopped believing in all their gods and told their children and future generations to search out the one true God that he time of its arrival again, because they said, we're going to deal with it again, and it's going to be out of the minds. But the ironic part is, how can all these civilizations say the same thing? They said men will be as women.
Mexico.
That people will be speaking with speaking stones across the oceans. That men would fly in the air as birds and swim the seas as fish and great iron fish. All these different things that we're saying, depicting our. They also said a web would cover the world. A web would cover the world, and it's so funny that we deal with a worldwide web, and it
Mexico.
They describe railroad tracks, iron, what they call them, iron honeycomb or something like that will be all across the earth and men would travel on it. They described the stone cities. They said, but they did say all the stone cities will be a smoke and everybody will flee the stone cities because of the fire. Instant fire. Columns of smoke would be seen as far as the eye can see coming off every stone city. They describe some stuff. They describe the age of when a bunch of religions would be on the earth, when a bunch of science would be on the earth, and then the science would go away and give way to mysticism again. They described all these errors that would come and go because they said, man, just like a baby, man is in the womb, right? Yeah. And you have all these trimesters. Well, they said mankind over generations is just like that baby. A few generations, they learn steel and this, that, and the other. Another generation, they learn to work, metals and wood. And after that generation, they learn about the elements, the higher elements, and they had it all depicted perfectly. And if it were just written on paper in some book, that would be one thing. When it's etched in stone that they just got to, right?
You can see it. Oh, there's another planet. I didn't even see that.
For these writings being absolutely
You can see that one at the top.
the city below Samaria.
Wow, I never saw that before. And then there's the reflection, the one with the red hue. And then there's the destroyer, the yellow one. But there's something else with it today.
And they were all telling the same exact story. So my messed up, but
Yeah, I mean, so they're telling us about the coming of Planet X again. They're telling us about a lot of things, but prophetically, as you were naming it, they were talking about how mankind would evolve, and they.
So he's not accepting the destroyer. You listen to that? Oh, that Planet X is coming again. Be still. Oh, ye of little faith. That's not. Sorry. Mike just said the destroyer, and he went back to Planet X. He does it all the time, and now he's going to keep teaching about Planet X is coming, not the destroyer. That's wrong teaching, and I'm not against Pastor Paul. I love him. He's awesome. He saved a lot of souls. Okay, so he's going to be protected. He's going to be saved. I believe he's of God, but he needs lots of correction. Because God says in this time he'll be teaching through the babes, not him. He's got the Pharisee and Sadducees belief, exactly. But he believes in Jesus, so he has more. I believe he's protected. He's saved many souls. When you save many souls, it covers yours.
And if it could be translated, it goes just like this. It says, forsake earthly goods and save the soul.
Sounds biblical. That sounds pretty biblical, to be honest.
Each one. Well, they turned, that's just like the Hopi Indians, the Mayans, right? The Mayans. You know what they just discovered in some of the Mayan temples in January?
It's at night. This one is like it's alive.
And then they found this writing where they started believing in Yahweh. It specifically says translates into Yahweh, where they found out that they were in error too. So some of these older stories are being picked up, right? As they dig deeper, they find more truth, and it's too sad, but some of the survivors found that ultimate truth. But most of their people did not make it, of course. But we know that.
Well, now let me ask you something. Heidi has a question for you, and I forgot to. I actually slipped my mind how to say it. But I said earlier that look, we got containers of food out in the ocean. We've got nurses, police, first responders, everything being let go. We have a southern border that's really very porous and confusing. Food prices are rising. Oil prices, natural gas. Look at Europe. It's not just America now. This is a global problem. Disease, plagues, sicknesses, wars, rumors of wars, world economy unstable, divided nations, and it's all happening at once. She said, how can this timing, is there a reason for the timing, for everything, just about everything that could go wrong or is headed in the wrong direction. The timing is now. Is there a reason? She said, "Ask Mike. Is there a reason? Is there a master plan? No, is there a reason?"
Well, let me give you. There is a reason. Let me give you a small hint.
Okay.
The economy has to go. The economy has to be transformed into another system.
Okay.
The only way for people to truly embrace a new system is that the old one completely failed them.
Yep.
That's the only way.
Yep.
Right? So there is another system already erected. Elon Musk is going to head up part of the division of getting people used to digital currency.
Yep.
Elon Musk will. So he should come out with some, news about something dealing with some new currency. But everybody will see. Unfortunately, sadly, most of these things are planned out. The saddest part is this: that often the populace fulfills the script that's already written, and this is something that I would just love for people not to do. In other words, don't fall into the trap presented to you. Think outside the box, step back and see what's really happening, right? This is, if I could give one word of advice, it would be this: if we could not be involved into the dubious doings of these individuals that govern the world and take a step back and fully be in Christ, we see it all. And that we'd never be moved by what we see on television, but we would be those who cause results to happen. Because we're about to enter into a season where life is lost. It's really going to be lost. And Christians are the ones who will make the difference. Nobody else is going to make the difference. Christians will make the difference. We're the representatives, right? All the kingdoms are going to be given over to the saints.
Yep.
The kingdoms will be given to the saints. So the saints have an extremely important job to do right now, which is why Satan is probably attacking and he's attacking everything.
Okay, so if they're given over to the saints, there's no rapture. That he just said it. No rapture. I can tell you right now. That says no rapture. That's what this guy teaches that he's on, and I'm not against him, but that's wrong. And he's too prideful. And I'm not saying I've sent him these pictures of the destroyer, telling him your planet X is zero, and he stuffed them under the carpet, man. It needs to be exposed. You can't be stuffing. I have more pictures of the destroyer than anybody I've ever seen in the world. More accurate pictures in the world. And I've seen these in Japan, but I've got hundreds of them. I can go out and take a picture every day of it. It's there. It's not leaving. It's deploying all the evil slowly. It's letting it on the earth, and it's getting darker and darker and darker and darker until it releases all. And then, so this guy, man, I mean, rapture is proved wrong so many ways. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Enoch, Jubilees. There's so many, man, that say no such thing. Replacement theory.
Walk in the faith, walk in the Spirit, walk with Christ. And when these things begin to happen around, people are going to be asking you, all right, I'm starting to see the.
And I'm not against them, but I'm not against Paul Bagley. I like him. I just can't listen to him because false teachings, right? So God won't allow me to listen to false teachings. He's teaching the people what's coming through the babes, not people like this. Now, he'll help you find Christ. Oh, yeah, he's great. I gave myself to the Lord on his channel. And he's awesome, but I can't listen to him. And I'm not saying anybody shouldn't, but I wouldn't. False doctrine make people fall.
Thank you for really doing a great job explaining a lot.
All right. So there you go. The destroyer. And then he went right back to Planet X after. Oh, let's talk about Planet X coming. He just said the destroyer, man. Oh, and by the way, I just noticed this. This isn't even Pepsi Company. Or must be or something. I don't know. But there's a corporation on this too. And the Pepsi can. the core, 33-degree Masons. Okay, so I'm jumping off here, so whoever just jumped on, you need to go back. Proof of the destroyer. You can even see the sun rays going over top of it to prove there's not an anomaly or anything. Uh, Listen, I can go and take a picture and show you. There's no anomalies on your lens. I don't know. Anyways, people make excuses for the truth. And I've been trying to get this truth of the destroyer out because I've had many dreams. God gives it to some people. He gave tons of it to me, tons of pictures, even manifesting Shiva on one of them, which means the destroyer. Proof that that's the destroyer. I know it is. God showed me right after I took that picture. He gave me the dreams. That's the way it went. I didn't have any control of that. I didn't even know what it was when I first took a picture, but I thought it was Nibiru. To find out that there's no such thing as Nibiru, okay, or Planet X. Wormwood is like a star. It's an angel that comes and poisons our waters. Doesn't talk about destroying the whole earth. It says the waters and the rivers are made bitter. So wormwood is okay. So you see red night sky at night, red sky in the morning. That's radiation. So it's putting radiation right now in our sky, right? So and that radiation's causing a lot of problems within the earth. Okay. So Mike talked about that. You might need to rewind this video and listen to it over. And you know what? I was so sick of false teaching about Nibiru and Planet X, and nobody listened. I used to sit on Paul Begley's shows sometimes and says, no such thing as Planet X, no such thing as Nibiru, false teaching, false teaching. And he would block me or whatever, right? Because these people have pride in their teachings. He has pride in these Planet X and Nibiru thing. They have pride in that. And you know, so anyways, it's all good, guys. I'll be back on tomorrow morning for the rest of the day. I'll be out busy helping my mom and stuff. I'm gonna go for an hour's sleep here. God bless you guys. If you just showed up now and need to rewind and see that God's really working in this channel, and you guys don't even know I'm on my fifth day of fasting. So yeah, it's quite an experience, man. Wow. God bless you guys. Thank you for coming. Well, you need to go back. Whoever just showed up into the video, you need to go back and see what's going to happen, what we're going through. Also, our timing is way off. Mike just said it. We're way closer. Okay? And I've been telling people that. No, we're not. We got to be raptured first. No. You're delaying the coming of the Lord with rapture. That's all it's doing. So, before it was 1863 and the guy fell off his horse and called out rapture, the fake rapture. It's not even in the Bible. It doesn't say rapture. That's replacement theory. Now, I've heard this guy talk about replacement theory with other things while he's doing it. That's pretty hypocritical, but let's pray for him, right? Not to be hypocritical about things. And hey, man, sometimes we all are, right? So, and hey, man, I like Pastor Paul, but God doesn't allow me to listen to stuff with false teaching in it. Not all of his teaching is false, but it does say that through the babes in these times, every time that God's going to do something, he comes through the people, the babes, okay, like me, the children. Then he starts showing you, and he starts giving you pictures that are just unbelievable. I've got pictures of that from 6 years ago. My first picture of it is actually on this video. And yeah, I've been watching it for 6 years and screaming it out to people. It's not what you guys say it is. It's much more damaging. It's spiritual damaging and physical damaging. That's why it's called the destroyer. Okay, it destroys souls. It's sent to destroy souls. Will the God's souls get destroyed? No, they don't, according to God. He doesn't leave one of his children in this earth. Okay, so God's souls do not lose. And this is not to go against Pastor Paul Begley because I love him. I listen to him every Thursday with Mike. Barely. God only lets that. But I only listen to him on Thursday because Mike's there, and Mike hasn't been on for a week. So let's not go against this guy. Let's pray for Pastor Paul Bailey that he comes with the truth, because there's, and I'm not going to get into it. There's a lot of wrong teachings here. Anyway, it's okay. He doesn't. I don't think he knows all of them. But rapture, that one's obvious. Anyway, it's okay. He's saving many souls, and it talks about if you save souls, it covers many sins. So he is of God. All right, guys. I just noticed something. Anyway, on this bottle, crazy. Okay, we'll talk to you guys later. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. I should be on at 9 o'clock. God bless you guys. Whoever just showed up, rewind, listen again, and you'll see God come through this channel again. Thank you, God, for that. And thank you for you guys coming. And hey, man, I'm not here to diss people. It's not about, oh, he's wrong. No, that's not what I'm trying to prove. I'm trying to show people what's coming so they can be planned for it. So they can, in this, the only way to plan for it is with Jesus. Even the previous cultures, writing on the wall, said, when this thing comes, you better get rid of everything on this earth and give it to your gods. To your God. It's on the wall, man. Destroyer has been written on the wall many times. Sorry, it's past us 4. It's passing 5 times. That's it. So this will be the last time, the worst time. God bless you guys. Keep with Jesus. That's all I gotta say. You gotta do. Well, you don't have to do nothing. Here's what I do. I don't stop studying right now. This is the time. Do meat and due season. So it's not time for this baby milk. Oh, you'll get this and you'll get that. No, you'll be attacked from head to toe to purge out your evil. And that's what happens. God uses your evil to purge it out. He talks about that in the Bible. Lots. Not lots, but it does talk about it in the Bible. Okay? So God bless you guys. Yeah, God said I created the evil and the good for my use. Evil and good. Good for evil. Evil for good. Seen it many times. So I've been through it so many times I can't even explain to you guys. God's been putting me through the washing machine, and this is my 5th day of fasting. After 4 day, after the 3 days, it's like you're going through hell because your stomach's binding up and everything else. But in this fast, things have been removed from me. So I'm doing a 5 day. I'm gonna eat today, and 2 weeks I'm gonna do a 7 day. So I'm gonna keep fasting in these times. Every so often, I'm gonna fast. Right, straight water is my. It's tough. You should try it. Everybody's got to learn it. If you don't know how to fast, what happens if everything shuts down and you got no food for 3 days? Right. So if you're getting used to how it feels to fast, then you'll be able to handle it a little bit more. Okay, so not a lot, but a little bit. Every little counts because I was sick, man, in fasting. I've been just really sick because all the toxins are coming out, right? So I'm puking. Yes, last night I was gonna try to eat. I ate, and I felt so guilty. God said, "You're not done." I went and got sick. I Everything in my belly. There was nothing left. I was dry heaving, and God didn't want me to stop my fast there. That's what that was. So, anyways, each fast helps. It really helps spiritually. But wow, some of the attacks you get in there are different than what you're used to. And God bless you guys. Did you know the food you eat makes you sin? It stops certain processes in your brain. So you can't even control your sin because of food. I seen that this time. I had no problem with that evil sin. Just goodbye. No, I'm fasting. That's what I'm trying to get rid of. Resist the devil and he will flee. Doesn't mean once. It means keep. Keep. Okay, God bless you.